Welcome to Proaxiom. This week we're going to be discussing why you need to get rid of your corporate VPN. So Cam, take us away.
Hey guys, I'm Cam Fairbairn. I'm the CTO with Proaxiom. Thanks for joining us. So yes, one of the things that we're encouraging customers to do frequently, but we're really putting an emphasis on it this year, is to get rid of your corporate VPN. And I thought we'd use this session to talk about why your corporate VPN is a problem from a security perspective. So I'll share my screen here. I've got a couple little drawings I've done to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So here's your conventional VPN service that has poor security. You'll notice that I've called this tab bad. So the reason this is bad is because you've got this VPN service. Usually it meets a VPN concentrator on the inside of your corporate network. That's just an appliance like a firewall or something along those lines that terminates the VPN connection. Unfortunately, usually those identities are completely separate from your regular corporate identities, and they don't typically have a second factor of authentication in legacy VPN products. So you might be authenticating using an old protocol like IPsec or PPTP, and these protocols have limited authentication capabilities. And when you're authenticating to your VPN concentrator, you might be using something as simple as a username and password. That's really bad because if that username and password falls into the hands of an attacker, they can get access to your entire corporate network. So not just, your internal applications, but everything. So in this example, there's no good segmentation in the network. And because there's no good segmentation, the VPN service is a really great way for a threat actor to get right into your network. Not as bad would be having the same VPN service, but having a dedicated network segment for VPN users and then having a firewall control access into the corporate network from this VPN DMZ environment that's specific for VPN users. This is an improvement on the old model, but not by much because you're not really using identity to control which user has access to which application. You're really just using the network segment that they have access to control that access. So this is bad because if you've got those same applications, App A and App B in the corporate network, you've got no really particularly good way of controlling who's got access to those applications except for that network layer. And the network layer is not a very good way to identify users. So here's another one that's maybe a little bit better, and that is this segmentation where you've got the firewall providing access into these two different applications. So this is where you're really kind of adding a higher degree of segmentation. Perhaps you've got a different VPN segment per user base. So you've got HR users and management team users or sales team users, and they have access to different applications, but it's still not a very good way of doing things. And threat actors will take advantage of VPNs in this kind of scenario. The better way to do it is to have a modern security services edge solution like ones from like Microsoft or Cloudflare, like this would be Cloudflare for Teams or Microsoft Secure Access. And the advantage that this provides is that the user has to complete an identity check, and then the SSE appliance that's running in this segment will actually arbitrate access into the applications based on the user's identity. So one of the main things we want people to take away, or corporate customers to take away in the year 2025, is that identity is the new firewall, and the best way to control access into applications is not through a VPN, but is through using a system like an SSE appliance like Cloudflare for Teams, Microsoft Secure Access, and using identity to control which applications the users have access to. The other advantage of this approach is that you can use zero trust access principles to provide access to these applications. So if the user's coming from a network segment that you don't trust, or if their device compliance score is low, or if they are coming from a blocked geo IP, like they're coming from a different country, or they've got a low security score in some other way, or they've got a high user risk, to provide some examples, then you can prevent them from having access to maybe a subset of applications that are sensitive in your organization. Really important tip here for those small organizations is that Cloudflare for Teams, if you've got less than 50 users, is a free solution. So you can get that capability and eliminate your VPN for just the cost of doing the project work to implement the solution, which can be quite low. So that's a great tip for those smaller customers. For bigger customers, you can look at Cloudflare for Teams. the solutions like Netscope, Zscaler, and Microsoft Secure Access. If you're a Microsoft license holder, it's a small additional fee on top of what you already have with your E3 or E5 licensing.
Cool. Is it a lengthy and difficult process transitioning from instance 1 or 2 into this third setup?
It's not really, no. So the main work is really about identifying the applications that you want to present to the users, and then offering them up through the identity portal. So essentially, with the Microsoft-based solution, for example, we would use app registrations in Microsoft Entra to register the applications if they're web applications, for example. And then we put the secure access appliance in front of them in a different network segment, the same way we do for Cloudflare for Teams. So it's a short project for most customers that are in that SME. So if you're between about 250 users and say 1,000 users, we can typically get the project work done in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks for building this solution. So it's a massive win in terms of capability for your organization from a security perspective, with a very minimal investment of time and money and resources to get it to happen. So I consider it one of the hottest tips for security in 2025.
Nice. Sounds good. And just in your experience, are most organizations running something like what we see on the screen now, or are most organizations still stuck in instance 1 and 2?
Most customers we'd look at would be, here at best. So that would be the vast majority of customers that we work with. They might have moved up to a slightly more secure VPN access solution where they're using certificates for the authentication, but that isn't foolproof. And at least 20% of customers that we would work with would be in this unfortunate situation, which really places them at a great degree of risk, because that threat actor, if they can obtain your credentials, and they can do that in so many ways, getting your credentials is not a difficult thing. It's quite trivial for the threat actor. If you're just using username and password for your VPN, act now.
All right. Well, let's say viewers do want to act now. What should they do? Give us a call.
Give us a call. Yeah, we can help. Yeah, give us a call. We'll do a brief consultation on how to get rid of your VPN. And how to get into a more modern solution. We have an assessment that we call the Modern Security Architecture Framework Assessment. We often do that assessment in conjunction with our ASD Essential 8 and Cyber Risk Insurer assessments. So we can do them as a package deal. We can come into your organization and review the controls that you've got in place and see how they line up to all of those control sets. But specifically for this type of work, we look at that Modern Security Architecture Framework. And that looks at things like, have you got all of the pieces in place that you would need to enable remote workforce? Have you dealt with shadow IT? Are you prepared for cloud application identity systems and so forth? So we can come in and help you with a comprehensive list of modern security architecture framework items that your organization might be missing out on because you're still in that castle and moat strategy. And this VPN architecture on the screen is definitely that castle and moat strategy, where you've got trusted on the inside, untrusted on the outside. And that's just not how the world works anymore, unfortunately. So customers need to look at those solutions. But yeah, give us a call, shoot us an email, jump on the website. We're here to help.